Hi, I'm Scott Schubert, and today I would like to show you how you can actually make an appointment to get into the best trade every week, the most ideal, most profitable, best trade at just the right time, while others stay glued to their charts for hours and still they won't see the best opportunities. Now, you know that in trading, in order to succeed, you're going to have to look at charts, you're going to have to study, you're going to have to practice, and yeah, you have to look at charts for quite a bit of time every day for a long period of time. But after a while, you can see that it's really not quite as long as what you might think. In fact, I look at charts for about 2 to 3 hours, about twice a day during most days of the week. And there are some days of the week that I could just not even look at the charts. I know I wouldn't miss anything, but I'm still there for our live webinars. So first, let's start and look at some numbers. So first of all, we know that about 10% of the people who receive this video are able to recognize that what I'm showing you on the charts is the real deal, that absolutely works, and the rest of the people are just tuned out and completely not able to see it. And it doesn't matter how many times I could show them everything that there is about how to trade, and they just wouldn't be able to see it, or they just tune it out for some reason or another. And most of those people are too busy complaining about something in order to even recognize that what they're seeing in front of them is the real truth. Here's something that you might want to know. In the Forex market, about 70% of the market movements that represent an end of a trend or an end of a correction happen during the first 3 hours of the London session. So if you live in America, I know that that may not be convenient for you, but still you do want to know that this is the reality of the Forex market. It's not just that there are more trades during that time period, but you could trade at some other time and do all right. It's just not true. There are 70% of the market movements that represent an end of a trend or an end of a correction. They're going to happen during the first 3 hours of the London session. And another 20% occur during the first 2 hours of the New York session. Many times you'll see that the end of a trend might occur during the New York session, but on certain days there can be a beginning of a trend during the New York session. A lot of times it could be a non-farm payroll on a Friday, and if it is, I will get in on the Friday and always leave it running, and I've never ever had any problem with doing that. People will say they've got in a trade on Friday and there's something that happened on the weekend and there's a gap or something, but for some reason I'm not seeing that, and it's because those people are not seeing this as being the end of a trend or the end of a correction. They're not able to identify the end of a trend or the end of a correction. Also, once a month in the afternoon at the time of the FOMC statement, that's the one time where in the New York afternoon there is a very important time, and it could be the end of a trend or the end of a correction. Then another 10% or so happen during the Asian session, mostly on the Aussie news days. And those are some of the most important days, is when the Aussie news is coming out, and you can look at your calendar every month and just mark where the Aussie news days are, and you'll see that there's going to be a great trade that day. And if you know how to see where there's a trend and where there's a correction, you'll see that it might happen on those days. I'm not just talking about trading the news or something like that. I'm just talking about, if you saw my previous video on how to trade the non-farm payroll and the FOMC statement, this has been a major revelation to the people who were able to see it and understand what it was that I was showing them, because it will completely transform what kind of results you get in trading if you can see what it is that I showed in that video. So I'm not talking about just going to the short time frame and jumping in a trade if there's news that comes out. Now, if you combine this with the ability to see these turns with distinct visual clues that you can see forming in advance, anyone who can learn to see this will be able to trade the market like the smart money. And you'll feel like, yeah, you are the smart money, because you keep buying right at the bottom, you keep selling right at the top, you keep getting in right at those points over and over again. And other people say, oh, you can't do that, you can't get in at the bottom and sell at the top. And people will always just keep saying all those things. They'll say the market is chaos, and people who have many years of experience in trading, they can't see some of the stuff that we're doing here every day. And that's what's so great about it. So if other people say you can't do that and the market is chaos, and I love it when people say that kind of stuff, because it just shows me that I have a very valuable skill and not many people can do it. And the people in our trading community can also do it. And I get a lot of satisfaction out of helping other people to be able to see this. Well, now you have the ability to learn to do this yourself, and when you do, no one can stop you from making consistent profit every week and every month. People who used to say my broker is stopping me and the banks are stopping me from doing this, it won't make any sense to you anymore, because you'll see what you're doing. It works, and it keeps on working over and over, and no one can stop you from doing it. And, even if I show this to people, they won't be able to see it on other charts, on other time frames, and maybe they can't see it on this one, but, you can see every time if there's an end of a trend, and it's not based on the number of waves that are in the trend, and so counting the waves is not the most important thing to do, but there's an end of a trend, and until that one point right there, this market was going down, and that's the point where we entered and went long, and we're only going short before that time, except for on a shorter time frame, going long on a shorter time frame. If you look at this on the 6 hour, now go down to the 30-minute, and you'll see this is where we went long. And then right here is where we went short again. Let me go back to the 6 hour and show you that this point right here was the London session, Great British Pound News right at that point. And that's the Pound Aussie. And on the Euro Aussie, it didn't make the turn yet until the next day at the time of the Aussie news was right here. Now back here, this point over here was the previous day's Aussie news for the continuation of the downtrend. This is where the Great British Pound News came out, and when the Euro Aussie continued the uptrend, that's where the Aussie news enabled the Pound Aussie to continue to go. So we had one of them turn at the Great British Pound News and the other one turn at the Aussie news. Now, if you look at the different time frames, you can estimate how long a trend is going to last, and you can estimate how long a correction is going to last on each of the different time frames, because each trend has subdivisions that are another trend on a shorter time frame. You could estimate how much time it's going to take for this end of a correction right here to turn based on the previous move down. So everything starts to happen in a way that it's not that mysterious, and it's not just going to happen at any time. It's only going to happen during those times. And if you know what it is you're looking for, if you know how to see the end of a trend or the end of a correction, you can pretty much tell about when they're going to happen. And then you can look at the news calendar and see what kind of news is coming out this week, what might be the thing that triggers this thing that we're looking for. You can see that you can make the most money that's possible to make out of trading and not be looking at the charts all that much every day. But there are certain times when you do have to look at them. I'd love to show you more about how we do this every week and how the people in our community keep doing this every week and getting such incredible results that you've heard about. But that's about enough for this video, and we'll talk to you again in the next video.